Good morning, everyone. My name is Ankit, and you're watching the Indian Express analysis by StudyIQ IAS. Here we take up important articles of the day, in addition to providing you the practice MCQs and mains answer writing initiative that will help you eventually to clear your exam. Now, give me a minute. I will set up the comment section here. There are people joining here right now. So, now, good morning, Bulbul. Good morning, Bagas Pinks. Good morning, Siddharam. Good morning, FTY. Good morning, Amar. Good to see you all in the morning. As I was saying, today is 28th of January and we'll be dealing 6 important articles that have appeared in today's Indian Express. Now, I will start our today's discussion with the new Chief Election Commissioner who is scheduled to be appointed as the tenure of current Chief Election Commissioner ends in February 18th. So, naturally, there should be a Chief Election Commissioner, and for that, a new person is going to be appointed. So, the government has actually initiated the process by constituting a selection committee, and this selection committee will put forward the names to a committee led by the Prime Minister of India. So we'll try to understand this in addition to the roles of Chief Election Commissioner and the Election Commission in general. And this is important from GS paper 2 syllabus, because Election Commission is which kind of a body? It is a constitutional body, because the Election Commission, it is mentioned in the Indian Constitution itself. Also, we'll be dealing that a new dam is going to be constructed in Sikkim, and there are many concerns associated with this new construction. So, as the local people, they are saying that it might pose danger to the local ecology as well as the prospects of any disaster happening in the future. Also, there are many experts who have suggested that although a new dam is being constructed, however, certain approvals which were required earlier has not been taken, and despite that the approval for the dam has been given. So we'll be understanding the issue why construction of such dams in an ecologically sensitive area can pose threats to the local ecology as well as to the people who are living there. This article is important from GS paper 3 perspective broadly, because it deals with the matter related to environment. The next article will be dealing called as Lejhim folk dance. This is a folk dance belonging to the state of Maharashtra. Now, in English, it is written as Lejhim, but in Marathi, which is the original language in which the dance happens, it pronounces Lejhim. Understood? Now, this is important from GS paper 1 syllabus, because such folk dances are an integral part of our culture, and therefore these are mentioned in the GS paper 1. Also, many folk dances have been subjected to prelims questions also. So that is why such topics are very important as far as UPSC prelims are concerned. Understood? Then we'll be dealing with the Paris AI Summit, as this summit is going to happen, as the name suggests, in the city of Paris, and it will involve many stakeholders, particularly the heads of the government. And Prime Minister Modi is going to visit Paris on 10th of February to act as a co-chair for this summit. Now, this summit is a personal initiative by the President of France, Mr. Emmanuel Macron, and the summit aims to bring all the stakeholders together and discuss on how to go forward or how to proceed forward with the regulation of AI, because AI, although very important from socio-economic purposes, but also can pose dangers required with privacy, fake news, etc. So we need to regulate AI, and for that, global heads of state as well as important stakeholders like businesses, civil society organization, they'll participate in the summit to discuss the way forward. This kind of an article is primarily important from GS paper 2 perspective, because it deals with the matter of regulation of AI. So we'll be dealing with such article. Also, GS paper 3, you can say it is important because it deals with matter of science and technology and any new technology such as AI which is coming into fruition. Also, we'll be following with the economy related article which highlights that the RBI, which is India's central bank, it is undertaking many measures such as holding forex swap auctions, open market operations and variable repo rate so as to inject liquidity into the banking system. Now, Indian banks in general, they are facing crisis of liquidity because we understand the value of dollar is depreciating, and to control this depreciation of rupee as against US dollar, what the RBI is doing, it is in sucking out the extra money that is in rupee from the market, and it is supplying additional dollars. Now, a counter of this sucking out of extra money supply from the market is that the banks, they are facing crisis of liquidity. So as to ease the process of liquidity for banks, the RBI is undertaking these measures. So we'll try to understand how these measures can actually increase or decrease banking liquidity in our today's discussion. And this is important from GS paper 3 perspective, and also is a part of monetary policy, which is very important when it comes to UPSC prelims, because you will see such measures taken by the RBI are frequently a subject of questions in the UPSC prelims examination. So we'll be solving a question also on this topic. Additionally, lateral entry in civil services will be a subject of our detailed discussion today, because you know lateral entry is going to happen in Indian bureaucracy. However, it has created some kind of a concerns among many stakeholders. One of is that you are bringing private sector people into the government machinery. So these people will not be able to adjust so quickly to how the government works in general, and they will not be able to understand the workings of the government machinery, or what in larger context is called as a government system. So you need to balance these kind of concerns with the requirement of technological expertise that these lateral entrants will bring to the government's operation. So we'll try to understand in detail about this article, as this is important from GS paper 2 syllabus, as it highlights the role of civil services in democracy, and that is mentioned verbatim in the UPSC main syllabus. Understood? So this will be the subject of our today's discussion. Now, as usual, the notes for this session will be available on my Telegram channel ATS Live. So you can search on the search bar located on the right hand top corner of your app. And also, if you're unable to find the channel still, you have an option to scan this QR code, which will take you directly to the Telegram channel. Now, before moving with the today's discussion, let me tell you, we are in a process of uploading monthly current affairs for the month of December, and I recently uploaded a video for important schemes that were in news. So please make sure to watch these videos on the YouTube channel. It is mentioned in the video section, and also there's a separate playlist that we have curated, so you can access the video from those separate playlists also. Now, these kind of revision videos are very important if you want to consolidate your learning from whatever you have watched everyday sessions. Understood? So these kind of revision are very important. Now, moving forward, let us try to first of all get away with the yesterday's question that I have given you. Consider the following statement regarding paraquat. Paraquat is a highly toxic herbicide commonly used for weed control in agriculture, but it is banned for use in several countries due to health hazards. Now, for example, countries like China and many nations in the European Union, they have banned the use of paraquat, which is a highly toxic herbicide. However, countries like US and India, they have agreed to use. However, these are subjected to some kind of a restricted uses. The second statement, first was correct. Second statement, in India, the use of paraquat is strictly prohibited under the Insecticides Act of the year 1968. Now, this Insecticide Act, you have to understand, it regulates the use of paraquat. However, it subjects the use of paraquat to certain restrictions, that you can only use for certain amount of crops like rice, wheat, tea, etc. Also, you can use it in water bodies to undertake cleaning or prevent the infestation of harmful plants that may reduce the levels of oxygens in the water body. So there are permissible use for this herbicide. However, these are subjected to some kind of restrictions. So you can't say it is prohibited, rather it is restricted. Therefore, second statement here is incorrect. As only first was correct, we had to identify correct statement. Therefore, correct option will be option A here. Now, environmental damage. Good morning, Narsimha. Yes, Bhaga, you're right. Option A. Bulbul, yes. Option 1 only is correct. Looking sharp, sir, I'd vote for you if only I was contesting elections. Now, this will be the mains question that I will be dealing with today. Lateral entry into civil services has been proposed as a means to bring domain expertise and efficiency to the governments, and we have to critically analyze the advantages and challenges of this approach in our today's answer, and we have to write this question in 250 words. So, we'll be discussing how to approach this question, and also you are required to write this answer and submit it to me in the Telegram channel that I provide you. Understood? Now, let us move to the discussion let me adjust this. Yeah, let us move to the today's discussion. The first article of our today's discussion is picked up from page number 9 of the Indian Express newspaper, and this article highlights, as I told you, the Chief Election Commissioner correctly, Mr. Rajiv Kumar, is scheduled to retire on 18th of February. So you require a new Chief Election Commissioner, and government has actually initiated the process of appointing the new election commissioner. But why is this such a news in this time of a day? It is because the government will be appointing the new chief election commissioner according to the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners appointment, condition and service and terms of office act of the year 2023, and this is the first time this particular legislation will be used to appoint any chief election commissioner. Earlier the appointments were made by the government itself, however it was not subjected to any regulation by the parliament, but the Supreme Court of India highlighted this legal lacuna or legal vacuum, and it forced the government to enact an act. And now the government will be bound by the provisions of this act on how to appoint Chief Election Commissioner and the other election commissioners. Now, in this process, the search committee has been formed under the chairmanship, according to this article, under the chairmanship of Union Law Minister, but the law itself says otherwise, which I'll tell you in today's discussion. And this search committee will present a 5 panel names, and this 5 panel names, among which the Chief Election Commissioner will be selected by the selection committee. So what is this search committee, how it is different from selection committee, and what are the conditions and tenure of office for the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners, we'll look into our today's discussion. Now, let us try to understand some of the important provisions from the Constitution and the article in order to understand how the appointments or what are the roles and responsibilities of Chief Election Commissioners. Now, first I have attached a screenshot here from the Constitution of India itself. So, the best way to study polity is actually to look at the verbatim text given in the Constitution and the legal legislation, because you cannot go wrong there. However, when you are referring it from different kind of textbooks, there is a very thin possibility that the text itself might be wrong. So, in order to get the best level of preparation, please make sure to follow the important constitutional and legal articles so as to know exact details of the provisions. So, for that, this is the article 324 of the Indian Constitution, which deals with superintendence, direction and control of elections. And this article states that superintendence, direction and control of elections in India, that includes preparation of electoral rolls, conduct of elections to the Parliament of India, conduction of elections to legislature of every state, and conduction of election to the office of President and Vice President. Which body is responsible for it? It is the Election Commission of India. And am I saying it? No, it is the Constitution itself under Article 324, which is saying that the responsibility of holding these kind of elections in India is the responsibility of the Election Commission. Now, for that, or to discharge the responsibility of Election Commission, there are slew of functionaries who are the chairman or the heads of Election Commission, and these are called Chief Election Commissioner and any number of election commissioners who can be appointed by the President of India as per the provisions of any law made by the Parliament. As I told you already, the Article 324 had said that the appointment to the election commissioners or the Chief Election Commissioner should have been made by any law which was passed by the Parliament. However, in previous case there was this no law, therefore the Union government has actually brought a new law. So let us try to understand the text of the new law and how and what conditions does that law provide so that the government can appoint Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners. Now, this is the Chief Election Commissioners and other election commissioners appointment, condition, service and terms of office act, and you can see this act itself in its section 3 highlights that the election commission, it consists of a Chief Election Commissioner and such a number of election commissioners as the President may fix from time to time. So currently the President has fixed that there will be a Chief Election Commissioner and he will be supported actively by 2 election commissioners. And Chief Election Commissioners and other election commissioners are appointed by which government functionary? They are appointed by President of India under his hand and seal. So this is provided by the Act itself. Now let us try to understand what is the conditionalities or what kind of people are eligible to be appointed as election commissioners, and according to this law, these kind of people, that is Chief Election Commissioner and election commissioner, they should be appointed from among the persons who are holding or have held the post equivalent to the rank of secretary to the government of India. So they need to be either present secretary in the government of India or they have been retired from the post of secretary of the government of India. Then only these people can be appointed as the election commissioners. Also, these people should be of persons of integrity and they should also possess knowledge and experience in managing and conducting the election. So that is why government functionary who have held office equivalent to the rank of secretary to the government of India, only these people can be appointed as the election commissioners. Understood? Now let us try to understand the process through which election commissioners are appointed. This process actually starts with a search committee. Now this search committee is headed according to this law, not the newspaper. It is saying that the cabinet secretary is heading the search committee and this comprises of two other members who will not be below the rank of secretary to government of India, and also these people need to have knowledge and experience in matters conducting to election. And this search committee, which will consist of 3 persons, will prepare a panel of 5 persons, and these list of 5 persons will be sent for consideration by selection committee, and this selection committee, not the search committee, will make the final appointment as the chief election commissioner and election commissioners. Understood? So we understood search committee consists of cabinet secretary and 2 other members who are to be the rank of secretary to the government of India, and they prepare a list of 5 persons and that list is sent to selection committee. Now let us try to understand what is this selection committee. This selection committee, as the name itself suggests, they are responsible for selecting the people who will eventually become chief election commissioner and election commissioners. Now this this election commission or this selection committee consists of chairperson, that is the Prime Minister of India. The members, it include leader of opposition in the House of People, that is Lok Sabha, who currently is Mr. Rahul Gandhi. However, if there is no person designated as the leader of opposition in the House of Lok Sabha, then the party which has the second highest number of seats after the ruling party, that leader will become the member of the house. Understood? It is written there. For purpose of removal of doubts, it is said that in case there is no leader of opposition in the house or it is not recognized, then the single largest party in the opposition, the head of that single largest party, will become the member of this selection committee. Also, the third member of this selection committee is a union cabinet minister who will be nominated by the Prime Minister himself or herself. Understood? So these 3 people will decide on what 5 people, the name for which has been sent by the previous search committee, they will finalize the name from which the ECs and CECs will be appointed. Understood? Now let us understand the tenure and conditions of office which the election commissioners and the chief election commissioner have. Now these chief election commissioner and election commissioners, they will serve the term of 6 years from the date they assume the office or until the age of 65 years in total. Now whichever is earlier, the chief election commissioners or the election commissioner will retire. Now the chief election commissioners and other election commissioners, they are not to be eligible for reappointment. And why is the law saying that they are not to be eligible for reappointment? Because you understand, in case they are eligible for reappointment, they'll do everything necessary just to get in good books of the government. So in order to prevent them becoming politically inclined and in order to retain their autonomy over the government's decision, the provision allows that there should not be reappointments of any election commissioners. Also, whenever an election commissioner is appointed as chief election commissioner after the retirement of chief election commissioner, then in that case the total tenure will be 6 years, not the individual tenure. For example, if an election commissioner stays in office for 4 years and afterwards he is appointed as chief election commissioner, so he will serve as chief election commissioner just for additional 2 years and not 6 years in total. Understood? So total tenure of any election commissioners will be 6 years, not the individual tenure of 6 years. Okay. So this is what the law was saying. Understood? This is how you should prepare your polity. Open the verbatim text of constitution or open the verbatim text of the laws, then you will be sure that whatever you are reading is 100% true. Now with reference to appointment of election commissioners in India, consider the following statement. Now the chief election commissioner is appointed by the President of India, as I told you is correct, as the law itself says that the chief election commissioners, they are appointed by the President of India under his warrant, hand and seal. The second statement, the tenure and conditions of service of the election commissioner, they are determined by the constitution itself. Does the constitution determine tenure and conditions of service? No, it is the act which is passed by the parliament. It determines the tenure and conditions, and the constitution only says that there should be an election commissioner or the chief election commissioners, and the rest, it is given, or it is the responsibility of parliament to decide. Therefore, second statement incorrect, first was right. Third statement, the decision of Election Commission of India are taken by majority of chief election commissioners and other election commissions. Now you have to understand, although these are three different people, one is designated as the chief election commissioner and others are called just election commissioners. However, they are having same kind of responsibilities and roles, and the chief election commissioner is only just one or the first among equals. So in theory, whenever they were to decide on a matter, that matter is decided by the majority of votes. So for example, two election commissioners decide on one thing and the chief election commissioner decide on another thing. So the decision will prevail that two election commissioners, just by the virtue of majority, their decision will be prevailed in the election commission. So therefore, third statement here is correct. Second was incorrect, first and third are correct, and we have to identify correct statement. Therefore, option C here is the right answer. Sir, can you remove the ads next time? Sorry, it is the duty of YouTube to do that. We are just holding the session. I understand the ads come, even they come on my screen also. So there's nothing you or I could do about it. I'm sorry about that. Now, as I was saying, let us move to another article. This one actually appeared in the editorial section of the newspaper. It states that the Environmental Ministry panel, it has been hasty in clearing the dam on Teesta River. So what is this dam we are talking about? We'll look into our today's discussion. Now this article appeared on page 12 of the newspaper, as I told you in the editorial section, and it is important from environment perspective. That is why I have written GS paper 3 here, because environment is given in the GS paper 3 syllabus. Now let us try to understand the context of today's article. Give me a minute, I'll drink water. Now, as I was saying, now back in October 2023, a glacial flood happened in Sikkim, and as a result of this flood, as many as 40 people were killed. And also, it washed away the existing 60-meter high dam, which was laid on the Teesta River, called as Teesta Third Hydel Power Project. Now, this was a hydel power project of National Hydro Power Corporation, called as NHPC. Now, less than 15 months later, after this incident actually happened, the Environment Ministry Experts Appraisal Committee has cleared a proposal for construction of a new dam, which will be bigger than the dam that was destroyed. Earlier dam was just 60-meter high. Newer dam will be as much as twice the height, that is 118 meters in total. So this dam, or the construction of this dam, the approval has been given, and there are many concerns associated by which such approval has been given. So we'll try to look into what the dam will be created, or where the dam will be created, and what kind of concerns are there with respect to the approval process. Now first, let us try to understand this new dam in Sikkim. This is a 118.64 meter high concrete gravity dam. Earlier dam was made by rockfill. However, this has been replaced by a concrete dam. So you can understand the strength and the integrity of the newer dam will be much better than the rockfill dam that was earlier created. And this rockfill dam was destroyed, as I told you, during the glacial floods which happened in the month of October 2023. Now the Environment Ministry Expert Appraisal Committee, it approved the process or proposal for construction of new dam, despite there are concerns about whether the new dam will be safe or not, or whether the approval process has been followed in letter and spirit, according to today's article. Understood? Now this glacial lake outburst flood, it happened in the October month of the year 2023, and this happened when South Lona glacial lake, it burst in Sikkim, and it caused significant flooding in the nearby areas, leading to death of as many as 40 people, and it washed away the Teesta Third Changthang Dam. Now this flood's destructive impact has raised question whether any new dam which will be constructed in the same area will meet the same fate or not. So in this regard, let us try to quickly understand what is this glacial flood or how it happens in general. Now as you can see from this image, whenever there is a presence of ice in the region, and what if this ice melts, so you can understand the pool of water is created here. Now this pool of water is kept in its place, or it's restricted from flowing away by a process of a natural dam which may be constructed here. Now this natural dam might be made up of ice or a bunch of rocks, and you can understand the dam which holds this water can be quite weak. So what if there is an event called as landslide or earthquake which happens in this area? So there is a possibility that this natural dam, which is restricting the flow of glacial water, it can break away, leading to outflow of this glacial lake water into the lower parts of valley. Now these structures which are located in the lower parts of the valley, including these houses here, they might be at risk for the floods, and that is why such floods actually leads to large scale destruction, and this is what happened in the month of October 2023. Understood? So whenever there is a sudden release of water from a lake which is made up of a glacial melted ice, now this sudden release of water can lead to flood in the lower parts of the valley, and it can also destroy the structures that might be located here. Understood? So this is the very basic process of how a glacial lake outburst might happen, and this leads to a flood. Understood? Now this new Sikkim dam, although you understand that there is a possibility of any glacial lake outburst might happen in the future, so in order to do that, the government or its expert appraisal committee has given the approval subjected to certain conditions. Now the proposal was approved only after the dam constructing authority, they agreed to set up of a early warning system, that in case of a glacial event they might be informed previously so as to do everything that they can protect the people and the structures located in the downside of the valley, and also mapping of glacial lakes and ensuring that the dam design is approved by relevant authorities will be taken place only after this approval is mandatory for the government. Understood? So expert bodies like Central Water Commission, Geological Survey of India, they'll conduct surveys in the located area. They will assess what kind of floods can happen in the future, and the newer dam will be constructed only after understanding the impact of these floods. So you can understand the newer dam will be created so as to prevent any kind of flood leading to destruction in the future. Understood? Now there are many concerns among people and experts that when or why the government has given approval to this project, knowing well that an event might happen in the future that can lead to destruction in this area. Now the hydrologists, they have questioned actually that why is government undertaking infrastructure push in a region which is prone to earthquake, landslides and climate change related disasters. Now you understand, whenever there is a change, climate change related disaster, it leads to increase in global temperatures. Now a consequence of increasing global temperature, that it will increase the melting of glaciers, which you can understand will lead to creation of much more glacial lakes, and these glacial lakes will have the possibility that it might lead to glacial lake outburst floods. Also earthquakes and landslide, as I told you, have the potential to destroy the natural dam which restricts the movement of glacial lake waters, and these events can actually exacerbate the conditions of glacial floods. Also, local population, it has opposed that the project which is going to construct, it will involve a significant amount of alteration and destructions of the local ecology, and the parts of mountains and forest and flowing river will be destroyed just because this new project has been constructed. Now, the public consultation on this project did not actually happen, and this also is a source of grievance for the local people. Understood? Now this new structure, as I already told you, it has not been cleared by the Central Water Commission or the Geological Survey of India. Now the project has been given an approval subjected to the clearance given by these bodies. So these are the related concerns by the experts, that despite this process has been approved or this project has been approved, whether or not the clearance has been given by relevant authorities, that this new project might significantly alter and destroy the local ecology, forest, mountain areas, and also the infrastructure push in this region is particularly in a region when there is a possibility of earthquake, landslides that might happen in the future. Understood? Now let me move to another article of the day. This article actually appeared in the explained section of the Indian Express newspaper, and it talks about Lejham dance, which is a folk dance of Maharashtra. Now this article is important from art and culture syllabus, that is why I have mentioned here GS paper 1 syllabus. Further, many folk dances and classical dances of India, they are subjected to prelims examination and its questions. So these kind of articles are very important when it comes to UPSC prelims are concerned. Now this article appeared on page 16 on the Delhi edition. Now the context of this article actually is that a new Bollywood movie called Chhawa is being released, and the trailer of that movie highlights that the actor Vicky Kaushal is participating in the dance. Now this angered actually the people of Maharashtra, because the actor is playing the role of Chhatrapati Shambhaji Maharaj, who was the son of the founder of Maratha Empire called as Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, and people are of the opinion that the king itself should not dance or should participate in the dance. Now, from our exams perspective, this controversy is not important, or which movie does this controversy is happening is not important. What is important is the dance, that is legend dance, and the people who are related or mentioned in the article, or the key historical figures like Chhatrapati Shambhaji Maharaj. So in the scope of our today's discussion, we will understand more details about what this dance includes and what are the notable achievements of Chhatrapati Shambhaji Maharaj. Understood? So this is how even the articles which not appear important prima facie might be important from the exams perspective. Understood? So that is why you should watch these kind of videos on a daily basis. So we'll tell you what is important in the article and what is not important in the article, and we will also provide you with the relevant details of the important parts of the article. Understood? Now, as I told you, this dance is called as Lezim in English, but actually it is pronounced as Lejhim in Marathi. Now this Lejhim is often featured in marriage processions in the district located on the Konkan coast of Maharashtra. Understood? So this is the location in which this dance is majorly popular and prevalent. Now such events, they are accompanied by a akhada, which is actually a group of people who will be performing many feats of this physical skill. So this is actually not an individual dance, rather it is a group based dance which involves akhada of people or a group of people. Akhada is a Hindi word which means a group of people. Understood? So persons who are not very good in Hindi, please pay attention. Now in today's world, or in today's new Maharashtra, the dance Lejhim, it has become a part and parcel of physical education drills that happens in schools and colleges. So instead it is not just a cultural event, but rather it is also a physical exercise which students underdo in their educational institutions. Also it is a major part of cultural celebrations. As you will see in festivals like Ganesh Chaturthi, people will participate and undertake this dance of Lejhim. So that is why it is important, not just from the physical aspect but also from the cultural aspect of Maharashtra, as even the most popular Marathi event in the calendar year, that is the Ganesh Chaturthi, it features the dance of Lejhim. Now this Lejhim, it is actually also a name of a small stick or a mallet which is made up of thin wood and pieces of metal. They are strung together, and participants of these dance, they actually clash this Lejhim stick, which enables it to produce a sonorous sound. Now this is also a rigorous physical exercise, as I told you, as it involves a drill, and as a group of dance or a group of people, they are dancing and drilling, which involves this dance Lejhim, and it happens in a formations of 2s and 4s, and even the participants of these dance, they are circled around each other. Also this dance event is accompanied by sound of dhol or dhalgi, which is actually a small dhol. This dhol is a percussion instruments which are made up of membrane, and when you strike these dhols, it produces loud noises, and these loud noises accompany the dance of Lejhim. Also vigorous movements such as stepping, squatting and jumping happen, which is an intrinsic part of this dance. Now drum beats usually start at a lower pace and gradually it speeds up, and the people, they try to keep up with the sound of dhol. Understood? So this is what Lejhim dance is. Now the musical instruments like guitar or stringed instruments, these are not played, rather the percussion instrument like dhol, it is accompanied by the dance, and there is no singing involved. Understood? Now let us try to understand some details about Chhatrapati Shambhaji Maharaj. I told you Chhatrapati Shambhaji Maharaj was the son of the founder of Maratha Empire, Chhatrapati Shivaji, and he was also, or he came to power following a bloody succession battle in which his half brother Rajaram was also involved. Now he became king in 1681, and he was a contemporary of Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, as Aurangzeb at that time was trying to look to expand his empire into the Deccan or the southern part of India, and in that the Mughal Empire came into conflict with the Maratha Confederacy. Now while Shambhaji, He was able to defend many famous forts against the Mughal onslaught. However, he was captured later on, and in 1689 he was put to death. So this 1689 actually brought an end to the tenure of Shambhaji Maharaj as the king of Maratha Confederacy. Understood? So what is important to note, that he was the son of founder of Maratha Empire. He was a contemporary of Aurangzeb, and he was involved in the battle with the Mughal forces. And because of his bravery and skill in fighting in these terraneous regions, he was able to defend many famous Maratha forts from getting captured by the Mughal army. Understood? So this is what is important from this article. What are the features of Lejham dance and who was Chhatrapati Shambhaji Maharaj? Understood? Now let us try to understand whether we are able to solve this question or not with reference to Indian culture and history. Consider the following statement. Lejham, it is a traditional folk dance of Maharashtra performed with small handheld musical instrument of the same name. As I told you, Lejham is the name of the dance and also the stick which is used by the people who are participating in the event. This is stick made up of wood and it is cobbled together with a piece of metal, and when you strike these sticks, it makes a noise which is the part and parcel of the dance. So first statement here is correct. Second statement, Chhatrapati Shambhaji was known for his literary contributions and resistance against the Mughal Empire. As I told you, yes, he fought bravely against the Mughal Empire and he even prevented the Maratha famous forts from getting captured by the Mughal army. The third statement, Lejham folk dance was introduced during the reign of Chhatrapati Shambhaji to inspire soldiers during the battle. Although this is a very popular dance in the Maratha culture, however, you have to understand this was not introduced during his time. It was prevalent well before he became the king. So third statement here is correct, incorrect. First and second is correct, and we have to identify correct statement. Therefore, option A here is the right answer. Is this called a flash flood, sir? Yes, actually this is an example of flash flood because it happens very instantaneously. For example, the floods that happened in Kedarnath back in 2013, that also happened because of outburst of a glacial lake. Understood? Good morning, Saujanya. I like your name, Saujanya. Very nice name. Now there is something that I want to tell you. I told you yesterday also. Now, for example, there are instances when in our course of our preparation we are not able to understand something, and the reason with which is we have not undertaken or we have not taken a good quality foundation lectures. So for that, or for whichever students the problem they face in understanding the key concepts of important subjects, for that we have brought a foundation batches which are available in online mode. Now these foundation batches currently are available at a price which is very reasonable. However, you can expect the prices, they will increase after the 31st of Jan. Now, the benefits of these courses which are available for the year 2026 as well as 2027 are many. You will be provided with lectures for all the important subjects. You will be provided with static booklets, 18 numbers in total, which will help you consolidate your preparation. You will also be getting test series for both prelims, mains, in addition to the 24/7 mentor support, where a guide will guide you on how to undertake your preparation. Now, this kind of a features, these are not available in any courses in the market, and this is available right now at 37,500. But if you use a particular code that is appearing in the screens below you, that is ATS Live, you can buy it for a much discounted rate. For example, I'll tell you how to apply that code. Now, click on the add promo code here, enter the keyword ATS Live, which is appearing on your screens below, and apply this code. So you can see there is a 7,500 rupee discount available. So the earlier cost was 37,500. Now the new cost is rupees 30,000 only. Understood? So this is how you will buy the course, by applying the code ATS Live, as it will help you get 7,500 rupee discount. Now understand, such kind of a discounts are very important because eventually you will be spending your or your parents' hard-earned money, and you need to do everything in order to save the cost which is incurred during the preparation phases. So hereby you can use such code to get maximum discounts on the courses. Understood? Now we go back to our discussion. As I was telling you, let us move to the next article of the day. This article actually appeared on the business page of the Indian Express newspaper, that is today on 19th page. And this article, as I told you, already it highlights that a Paris AI summit is going to happen, which will be attended also by Indian Prime Minister Modi sir, and he will be acting as a co-chair of this summit. Now, what is actually the agenda of this summit? We'll try to discuss it in today's article. Now, this article is important from GS paper 3 syllabus, also GS paper 2 syllabus, because it deals with regulation of a technology which is the prerogative of the government in general. Understood? And GS paper 3, why? Because it deals with matters of artificial intelligence, which is an important technological development. Now, the context of this article is actually the global policy makers. They are facing a dilemma that how to leverage the power of artificial intelligence on one hand while negating or mitigating its risk on the other. So, this is the dilemma that global policy makers are facing in their respective countries. So, as to do away with the dilemma and to undertake a global coordination in regulation of AI, these global policy makers, in addition to members of civil society, businesses and other experts, they are getting together in Paris on the 10th of February, which will be a 2-day AI Action Summit. Now, earlier such kind of summits have happened related to AI, as there was this AI Safety Summit which happened in Britain, whereas a similar meeting in smaller scale happened in the city of Seoul, which is the capital of South Korea. So, this is an event which will take place in Paris, and this is an initiative actually by the French president, and PM Modi, who is a very close friend of French president, he will be acting as a co-chair of the summit. Now, the intention of the summit, as I told you, it aims to bring multiple stakeholders from heads of government to heads of businesses, important civil society organizations, as well as experts in the field of AI and science and technology. They will be getting together in order to set a broader agenda of how the global innovation and governance with respect to AI should happen, and how AI should be used to deliver benefits which is available to a larger public interest. Also, this summit will be dealing or addressing the fact that there will be an increasing concentration in the AI market, because you understand the majorly there are two countries who are responsible for making good quality AI tools. These are US, such as companies like OpenAI, Microsoft, Twitter, that is X, it has brought its own AI tool. These companies and Nvidia, which is providing them with the graphic processing units, these companies are primarily responsible for development of AI in the country of US. Also, we have seen China is rapidly catching up with US at its own company at now constructing a large language models which are used to power its own AI tools. So that is why these are two major players, and that is why there are risk of increasing concentration in the power with just two countries. So that is why this summit is happening, so that there is a need for other countries also to pitch in for their respective developments of AI to prevent the concentration of this technology in the hands of just two countries. Understood? Now, AI and global governance, as I told you, AI's technological development is concentrated currently in the hands of just two countries. On one hand is the United States, and the United States is undertaking a rather ambitious project called as Target project, where the major companies involved in AI work, Oracle, OpenAI, Microsoft, as well as Nvidia, they are getting together and they are making an investment of $500 billion to build an AI infrastructure which will catalyze the expansion of AI capabilities in the future. On the other hand, there is a country like China which is making a astounding or a very rapid progress in the field of AI, as its company called as DeepSeek, it recently showcased a new large language model which is currently, from the basis of technology, it is at par with OpenAI tool, which you can understand uses a very powerful or a very common platform called as ChatGPT. Now, these kind of AI tools, these are powered by large language models, and OpenAI's large language model is currently the best language model available in today's time. So China, or a company called DeepSeek, it is claiming that its new large language model actually matches the capability of OpenAI's technology. So this is why you can understand that the China is undertaking rapid expansion of its AI capabilities to seek parity with US. On the other hand, there are countries located in European Union who are facing problems like red tapeism and restrictive laws that are preventing the companies located in Europe from undertaking the parity or competing with American and Chinese companies. So this is the primary reason why this summit is happening in Paris, and it is heralded by a president like Emmanuel Macron of France, because European companies currently, they are lagging behind American and Chinese developments in AI. So in this regard, let us try to understand what are the various approaches undertaken by different countries on how to regulate AI. On one hand, the most strictest regulation is that of European Union. Now, the European Union has actually taken a very tough stance on AI, as it is proposing a regulation based on what kind of use case that the AI tool will have, and based on this use case, the amount of privacy or the degree of invasiveness will be regulated. For example, if any AI tool is dealing with your personal related data, so that will be subjected to strictest regulation, whereas an AI tool which will not be dealing with public or with the private data, that will be subjected to lesser restriction. Now, there are benefits of restrictions, that it provides privacy to the people. However, there is also a downside to it, that it stifles innovation. On the other hand, countries like UK, which actually has gotten out of European Union, they are taking a very light touch approach of regulation, that they are aiming to foster and not stifle innovation, which is, according to them, this AI field is actually a very developing field. So you need to make companies free from undertaking any innovation effort so as to undertake the technological parity with US and China. Now, the US regulation in this matter is actually between European Union and UK. It is not as strict as European Union, however, it is not as liberal as the United Kingdom. So, it has taken a somewhat a between approach, that is not as strict or not as liberal, and because of this approach, it is trying to deregulate now further so as to promote the development of AI in further terms. Also, the newer approaches of regulation as far as India is concerned, India has maintained that this AI technology actually represents a big opportunity for a developing country like India. However, India is also cognizant of this fact that there might be a problem of weaponization of this technology by social media, as this technology can use to perpetuate fake news. It can be used to perpetuate deep fakes of politicians, which you can understand endangers Indian society in large numbers. However, there is a need for Indian government to ensure that the AI represents safety and trust of people. So, for that, Indian government also wants to regulate the use of AI. But how or what this approach of regulation by Indian government will be, it is currently in the process of decision making. So that is why such kind of global summits that will involve many stakeholders will give government an idea on what is the best way to regulate the newer technologies like AI. So one hand, it should protect the privacy and integrity of its own country or privacy of its own citizens, while on the other hand, it should also promote these companies to undertake innovative measures in order to get better in their own work. Understood? Now, let us move to another article of the day. This article actually appeared in the business page also, which is on page 19, and it states that RBI, it has announced many measures in order to increase or inject liquidity in country's banking system. Now, country's banking system was actually facing crisis of liquidity. Why? Because as you can understand, with respect to dollar, the value of rupee is actually reducing or depreciating in large number. So as to prevent this depreciation of rupee, what the RBI was doing, that it was supplying additional dollars into the market, whereas reducing the supply of rupee from the market. And because of this reduction in supply of rupee, we have seen that an unintended consequence of liquidity crunch in banking system has happened. So now what the RBI wants to do is that it wants to bring liquidity into the banking system, because you understand, by liquidity in banking system, these banks will be able to extend loans to people who are coming to the banks. So that is why banks require a large amount of liquidity so as to undertake their daily business operations. Now, in this regard, the RBI said that it will inject liquidity in the banking system through process of dollar sell and swap, and also by open market operation and variable rate repo. And the intention of these three operations is actually to ease the tightness which the banking system is facing currently with respect to its liquidity condition. So in our today's discussion, we will understand how forex sell and swap, open market operations and variable repo rate are looking to increase the liquidity in the banking system. First, let us start with the forex swap, that is selling or buying of dollars in the market. Now, RBI, it is saying that the sell and swap of the dollars in the Indian market, that is RBI will try to sell dollars to the banks in India, and in return the banks it is looking to buy dollars from the banks in India, and in return it will provide requisite amount of rupee to the banks, which the banks can use in their day-to-day operation. For example, in today's process, the RBI is saying that it will buy $5 billion from Indian banks for a period of 6 months, and in return to these banks, in against $5 billion, the banks will be provided by the RBI a sum total of rupees 43,000 crore. And naturally, the banks can use this 43,000 crore for a 6-month period to inject liquidity or to undertake or give loans to the consumers. So this is how, after the maturity or after the 6 months period, the banks will be required to return this rupee to the RBI, and the RBI will return them the $5 billion. So the intention of this selling of dollars or buying the dollars from the bank by the RBI is naturally to liquidate or inject liquidity into the banking system. As you can understand, RBI is providing rupees in return for the dollars they are buying from the banks, and these rupees will be utilized by banks to extend loans to the consumers. So this is how we inject liquidity into the banking system. The second process is the process of open market operations. Now the open market operations, they are set of transactions which the RBI undertakes in order to sell or buy government securities in the market. So for example, the RBI, it will purchase government securities from the market, and it will, in return of these government securities, provide 60,000 crores to the Indian banks, and the banks can use these 60,000 crores in order to get or give loans away to the consumers. So when RBI, it purchases securities from the banks, in return for these securities, the RBI provides cash in form of rupee to the banks, which the banks can utilize for day-to-day operations. So this is how the RBI injects money with the help of open market operations. The third concept in this regard is the variable repo rate. Now repo rate, you understand, you must have heard. So I'll tell you again, repo rate is the rate in which the banks borrow funds from the RBI. So there is a possibility that banks might not be eager to lend money from RBI using the repo rate, because the repo rate is greater than the prevalent interest rate in the market. So in that case, what the RBI does is that it reduces the repo rate by a virtue of the variable repo rate, and the RBI says that do not need to give me the repo rate. So for a current transaction purpose, the RBI says that why not banks lend money from RBI, and in return it will provide a variable repo rate which is usually lesser than the repo rate. So it eases or it reduces the amount of repo rate interest that it charges on the bank to give loans, and that is why in most cases or in every case the variable repo rate will always be less than repo rate. And the purpose of RBI giving loans away on a lesser interest, that is variable repo rate, is to inject liquidity into the banking system, because earlier the banks were reluctant to lend it on repo rate. That is why RBI reduced the repo rate by bringing variable repo rate, and this will promote banks to undertake loans from the RBI, which using which loans it can extend loans to the consumers that come to bank. Understood? What are these securities? These are government securities. Now with reference to liquidity management, consider the following statements. Variable repo rate allows banks to borrow at a rate decided by the market, generally higher than the repo rate. Now this is a very straightforward question. You have to understand the variable repo rate, in all cases these are lesser than repo rate, because the repo rate actually according to banks were higher. That is why banks were not lending money using this repo rate. Rather, when RBI reduced the repo rate, let me erase it and write, as the variable repo rate was lesser than repo rate, that is why the banks are using this variable repo rate to undertake loans from the RBI, and that is why using those loans the banks are extending loans to the consumers. So that is why it has to be lower and not higher than repo rate, and that is why first statement incorrect. Now VRR used by the banks not eager to borrow from RBI India at repo rates. This is a correct statement. When banks, they are not eager to get loans from RBI in terms of repo rate, then the RBI reduces the repo rate by bringing variable repo rate, and the rates charged under variable repo rate actually are market interest rates and not pre-decided by the RBI. So second statement correct, first is incorrect, option B is the right answer, because we had to identify correct statement here. Now let us move to the last article of the day. This article actually appeared on page 8 of the Indian Express newspaper, and it states that government's lateral entry scheme, it has faced certain problems in India because of politics, and now there is a legal process which is actually challenged the constitutionality of the government's lateral entry scheme. Now the government's lateral entry scheme actually invited the wrath of many political parties, because you understand provisions of reservation, these are not applicable whenever a person is hired on lateral entry. So whatsoever will be the vacancies will be open to all people and not reserved for any section of Indian population. So that is why when reservations were not provided, it created a lot of political controversy, and that is why government had to go back on its lateral entry scheme. Also, there are many slew of challenges that have been filed in the Supreme Court of our country which challenge the legality of lateral entry scheme. Now this challenge is currently not even starting to heard by the Supreme Court, so we'll be covering this later on when the Supreme Court decides on this matter. So our point of today's discussion is actually the benefits and challenges of this lateral entry scheme, which is very important from GS paper to syllabus, because the syllabus itself states role of civil services in democracy, and the lateral entry scheme looks to change the way in how civil services in India function. So let us try to understand what is a lateral entry scheme. As I told you, lateral entry involves appointing professionals from private sector, from PSUs into the government on the mid-level and high-level roles. Now the goal is to generally introduce a person who has a specialized expertise in any field, and they are intended to bring fresh perspective into the part and parcel of government's day-to-day functioning. So this is how government wants to bring experts into the functioning of the government, and by appointing them as joint secretary into any ministry, these will look to improve the governance of the entire government machinery. Now these lateral entrants, they are appointed not on a fixed or a permanent basis but on a temporary basis, particularly on a 3-year contract, and sometimes it can be extended till up to a 5-year contract. Now the concept of lateral entry actually has been favored by many commissions which has been set up by the government. First, it was the second ARC which was set up by the Congress government. It advocated for such lateral entry scheme, and so did the Niti Aayog in 2017 in its 3-year action agenda. So in terms of committees which were formed by both UPA as well as NDA government, all of these committees has actually voted or has advocated in favor of lateral entry. So in that reason, let us try to understand what are actually the arguments or reasons why the government wants to bring the lateral entry scheme into the government hiring. Now first of all, what is the main intention of government bringing this lateral entry scheme? So that it can appoint specialized persons who have expertise in a particular field into the government ministry. Now particularly currently what happens that any civil servant in India, irrespective of the degree, they are appointed in important ministries. So there's a chance that an engineering graduate might be appointed into Ministry of Finance, or a person with an arts degree might be appointed in Ministry of Heavy Industries. Or what if a person having a commerce background is appointed in Health Ministry? So in that logic, you understand the persons, that is civil servants currently, they are generalist in nature. That is, they have a basic graduation, and based on the training provided by the government, they are deployed in various kind of ministries. So as against appointing generalist bureaucrats in a particular ministry, the government is looking to provide experts into a domain field. So for example, a person who has a degree in public finance, they will be appointed into Ministry of Finance. A person who has actually worked in a manufacturing company will be appointed to Department of Heavy Industries. Or even doctors, they can be appointed into health ministries as experts, as we have seen cases like Raghuram Rajan in past, who is actually a professor of economics. He was appointed as RBI governor. Montek Singh Ahluwalia, he was appointed as the chairperson or deputy chairperson of Planning Commission. So this is how even in the past governments have relied on the services of experts and made them hold important government posts. So this is how you can bring experts from a particular field into a relevant ministry, and that is how you increase the expertise that is available with the government to function. Now also these people, when they will be brought from private sector, they will be expected to bring private sector practices and to undertake reforms in the government's functioning. So that is why they will bring innovation, efficiency in the government service, and that is how they will also look to transform the work culture of government. Now what is the work culture of government? They are known by red tapeism. They are known to be inefficient. देख कर चलता है attitude. Now, whenever there is red tapeism or inefficiency in workforce, it leads to delay in decision making. So, what the government needs, that people, they should be very efficient. They should not play that close attention to the rules. Rather, they should work on these rules so as to make them quick decision making. So, that is how, by appointing expert people, it will lead to innovation and reforms in the way government functions, and it will also transform the work culture of the government in general. So, it will lead to quick decision making. It will lead to efficiency in the government's functioning, and overall it will lead to improvement in the government's work culture. Also, there is a logic that favors the appointment of lateral entry into the important government post, is that there is a significant resource gap in terms of manpower. For example, there are various reports who highlight that there is a shortage of about 1,500 IAS officer, and every year government appoints only about 180 people into the IAS. So, in order to take fulfillment of this vacancies, it will take a large amount of time. So, as a short measure, it can be used that these IAS officers can be appointed in favor of lateral entry so as to fill the gaps in a short term period. Also, there is a need to enhance participatory governance. As you can understand, these lateral entrants will actually be members of the private sector. So, there is a chance that when these lateral entrants, they become a member of civil services, it will bring close attention to the government that what the private sector might think. So, that is how government will increase the participation in its day-to-day functioning, that by bringing people from diverse backgrounds, from public sector, from private sector, from specialized workforce, and it will help government to undertake overall approach of how the government should function. So, these are the arguments that are there in favor of lateral entry. Can't their specialization be shortlisted according during their selection only? Now, that kind of a change in civil services appointment process is quite a lot of politically challenged way. So, in order to do away with such a challenging work, the government is taking a shortcut, that it is appointing experts on a short term basis in the government, so that it does not violate the provisions of civil services. Now, as against, there are two sides of a coin, so does the two sides of lateral entry. That's, we understood what are the arguments in favor. Let us now understand what are the arguments that go against the appointment of lateral entrants in the government. First is that these appointments will be made only on a short tenure of 3 to 5 years. So, how do you expect any person functioning in a government, and how that person should understand everything according to the government in just a short period of time? So, first concern is actually these are appointed for a very short tenure, which will not enable them to understand the entire functioning of the government. Also, there are concerns of whether they will be impartial or objective in their day-to-day work, because eventually they are members of private sector and whose interests are taken care of by the government. So, there is a possibility of that these decision makers will be involved in conflict of interest. For example, they will be dealing with a policy related to a company which earlier they were a part of. So, that kind of a conflict of interest raises question over their impartiality and objectivity. Also, there is an impact on morale of career bureaucrats, because these career bureaucrats who take about 17 years to become a joint secretary, they will feel that they have actually worked for the government for 17 years, and rather the government is appointing on a same post as them entrants from the private sector. So, this affects the morale of civil services in general, and as a result of this impact, there is a chance that these civil servants might actually resist any changes that are brought by the lateral entrants. So, that is how the work culture, instead of getting better, it might go worse. Further, these lateral entrants, they will have an absence of ground level experience, because you understand an IAS, during their initial career phase, they are eventually deployed on ground in a particular district, which might be a very small district. So, that people, by virtue of their work that they do in their early phases, they get a lot of ground level experience. But on the other hand, these lateral entrants, they are serving in private sector and they are appointed directly into the government, which will enable them not to match the ground level experience that the traditional IAS has. Understood? So, this is how there are arguments that go against the appointment of lateral entry, that these people do not have sufficient ground level experience, they might face resistance from the civil services, there is a chance that they might not be that impartial or objective in their day-to-day decision making, and just because they are serving for a short period of time, it will not enable them to grasp the entire way of how the government functions. Understood? Now, let us quickly solve the question. Lateral entry into civil services has been proposed as a means to bring domain expertise and efficiency in the government. So you will start your answer by introducing what is lateral entry, how it seeks to bring expertise into the government, and you will also highlight what kind of commissions, like its second, ARC as well as Niti Aayog, both have favored the lateral entry. So this is how you will introduce your answer. Now the body part of your answer, you understand, will require you to critically analyze, which means you have to enlist advantages. You will have to enlist disadvantages. Give 5 points each for these and write 1 or 2 lines in explaining your 5 points. And how you will conclude your answer? You will conclude your answer by saying that lateral entry, although very desirable, has faced certain difficulties. What are these difficulties? That they do not have reservation policies which go against the very fabric of Indian Constitution. They are made for short-term tenure. So this is how you will conclude your answer. Understood? So please try to write this answer, submit it to me in the Telegram channel ATS Live, and we will be doing this another question. Sorry, I had actually curated a question. I forgot to add it. I will add it in the comment section and also in the Telegram group. That is the practice question for today, which we'll take up tomorrow. So please make sure to solve this question here and write it down and submit it to me on the Telegram group. I will see you again tomorrow at 10 a.m. sharp. Until then, I bid you a very goodbye. I'll see you again tomorrow.